Guys, I almost said happy Monday. I almost said it. Happy Tuesday, guys. What I want to come on and talk about, I want to talk to you guys for a few minutes. I wish I could just go like on vacation now, but I'm gonna try to do something for next month, Lord's will. Well, I don't want to say a vacation. I want to do a staycation, and then see if I can do a vacation like December, January. It depends, but I just dropped Justice to school and I stayed for a little bit. They have their Peek the Cat thing today. I thought it was going to be last week, Friday, but they actually going to do it today. I guess the date changed. So I was helping a little bit with the mask, but most of the things was already on. So I really didn't stay too long today. And then now I'm at the library. And I didn't get a lot of sleep again with him last night. He kept rolling. And my son is very heavy. He's 4, but he's tall and he's big. Like he's big solid wise. He's tall, he's slim, but he's heavy. He got weight on him, so he just be rolling about to sing a song. I'm like, oh my God. But God is good. Today what I'm gonna do with homework is homework that's due tomorrow, for both classes. I'm just gonna do that today or whatever. But y'all let me know how y'all morning is going. My morning was a little bit busy this morning, but I did carve out time for prayer and my devotional. I try to do that in the morning times before we even get out of bed, and then like later throughout the day I'll spend more devotional time, and like especially at night I try to carve that time at night, because I noticed like once he then took his bath and did his homework and the house is good and I'm took my bath and I'm fine and I know I did whatever I had to do for the day, I'm getting into that rest mode before bed. And even if I'm listening to a sermon or reading a verse or reading something, it's just so encouraging to me. So that helps me a lot. So yeah, guys, I look a little rough this morning, but oh well. But what I want to come on today and read, if we have enough time, I want to read Joshua 1, Joshua 5, and Joshua 6. I definitely want to read that. For Joshua 5, I want to focus more on the fall of Jericho. And Joshua 6 is talking more about Jericho and what the Lord was commanding them to do. Also, Joshua 1 is the Lord commands Joshua. And some of these we've read before. Not all of Joshua. I had wanted Joshua to be a part of our Bible study series, but I don't think we ever did that one. But we did read some of it. And then I told you guys, I think it was last year or early this year, I don't remember us reading Joshua in Bible study if we did. I remember I read it and was telling you guys to read it too. But if we did, forgive me, but I don't remember us reading it for Bible study. But anyway, let's get into Joshua chapter 1. Guys, just bear with me. This is one of those mornings. And Lord, good morning again, God. Just ask that you bless this time that we're taking time to just fellowship together, God, to get in your word. And I just pray that this video is an encouragement to someone, that this channel and everything you're doing, God, first of all, gives you all the glory and encourage them to get closer to you. That's the goal, God. In the mighty name of Jesus, we pray. Amen. Also, I'm praying that everybody have a blessed day. Everybody have an amazing day, a good day. So let's jump into Joshua chapter 1. And like I said, guys, we will be picking back up our November Bible study Friday, Lord's will, in Ezekiel. So the Lord commands Joshua, and I'm thinking we're going to do the Dunkin' Donuts Thursday. We may do the Dunkin' Donuts Thursday. I wanted to do it in the afternoon, but we may do it Thursday. No, I wanted to do it in the morning, but we may have to do it in the evening. Thursday will be the latest for the Dunkin' Donuts, but if we can do it maybe tomorrow or then, that'll be good. But we're going to still do that. So Joshua chapter 1, guys, the Lord commands Joshua, and I'm going to turn this off. I'm just going to read. And also, whoever I'm reading this for, listen and open up for your spiritual ears to hear what God is saying to you, because you may be getting some nuggets and some downloads for your personal situation with what God is saying, or God may give you a highlight for someone else to bless them with. So after the death of Moses, the servant of the Lord, and sorry about all that noise. I guess when I just turned my car off, I hear it sounds like they're cutting grass somewhere close by, but so y'all just bear with that. So after the death of Moses, the servant of the Lord said to Joshua, son of Nun, Moses' aide, Moses, my servant, is dead. Now then, you And all these people get ready to cross the Jordan River into the land I am about to give to them, to the Israelites. I will give you every place. Somebody receive some of these blessings from God, or these blessings of God that God has for you. Receive them if this is for you. I will give you every place where you set your foot, as I promised Moses. Your territory will extend from the desert to Lebanon. Because see, chapters 1 through 5 is preparation for possession of Canaan. And then chapter 6 is getting into the conquest of Canaan. Right? So, yeah, I will give you every place where you set your foot, as I promised Moses. Your territory will extend from the desert to Lebanon, and from the great river, the Euphrates, all the Hittite country to the great sea. And then the footnotes, the great sea is the Mediterranean Sea on the west. No one will be able to stand up against you all the days of your life. Isn't God so good? So amazing, guys. As I was with Moses, so I will be with you. I will never leave you nor forsake you. Because, see, men will say this and that. And some people, they mean well. And some people do carry out their words. Some people didn't mean the words when they said it. And some people, they mean well, but things just don't work out that way. But what I love about God is, God, this is a word for someone this morning. The part I just said, you can take God at his word. You can believe him. If God said it, it's already done. Because, see, God speaks from eternity. He's not bound by time. He's not bound by the things that we're dealing with. You understand? So if he says something, it's done. Right? And you never see God worried. You never see God freaking out. You never see God panicking. Because he already knows how it's all going to play out. Right? Even if you may have a moment and you may not understand it, whatever. But he already sees the full picture. Right? So be strong. This is Joshua 1:6. Be strong and courageous, because you will lead these people to inherit the land I swore to their forefathers to give them. And what's so interesting to note is Joshua was Moses' aide. So you see how like Elijah kind of was Elijah. You know, like from his youth, he was groomed. He saw God do all these different things. He saw it. You know, he saw it. So now, oh my God, that's so good. You guys remember Sunday after I had ironed them clothes and I came on and I told you guys the baton? Wow, that's so awesome. Remember I was drinking that green tea that I got from Walmart and I had put both of them up like a baton with the race. Remember when we were talking about Sunday's video, that point? I'm reminded of that for this. It's like the baton was passed from Moses to him. You know, some of you could see where maybe God gave your grandmother or your grandfather or your mother or your father or someone in your family, or even maybe your spiritual, who's like a spiritual father, spiritual mother to you. They passing on that anointing to you, or the baton is being passed to you. That's so awesome. And then sometimes you found, and I found in my personal life too, with certain situations where they didn't pick up that baton, they didn't pick up that call, so God will give it to you. Because he know that you would run with it and do it and pass it on to who he tell you to pass it on to. See what I'm saying? So, okay, so be strong and courageous, because you will lead these people to inherit the land I swore to their forefathers to give them. Be strong and very courageous. God is telling him this for a reason. See, like I told you guys before, I got to turn it back on. I should have just turned the air down, really. But whenever God tell us to do something, so if God keep telling you, see, my word that God keeps telling me with what I'm dealing with, believing him financially, believing him for things for school, believing him for my move, certain bills, believing him for certain things with my business, relationship, marriage, or different just promises, different things he's promised to me. Some things I can share, but not all. I'm seeing him move with some, but then the rest, he's like, because it's so big and because he's going to do it in such a supernatural way, he's like, so my word is trust. My word is believe. My word is continue on. Those are my words in this particular season I'm in. And a lot of this is the season that I've been in. I'm getting ready to transition to a brand new season, because I've been in this season and I've been found faithful and I've weathered it. You know, I stuck with God. I didn't turn back into my old ways. I didn't turn back into my own understanding. I didn't say, well, God, I've been doing this and that. I'm going to go get a job, or I'm going to do this with my business, or I'm going to go get this place. No, I've been staying. I didn't say, well, God, this is, so no, I've been staying. Just like this morning, I was so encouraged. The verse of the day was talking about God is the potter and we're the clay. And that ministered to me so much, because it's so true. And then when you allow God to continue to mold you and shape you and make you who and what he wants you to be continuously and transform you, so many beautiful things happen. But what's going to happen if the clay's not fully done, and then the clay want to get done, and you're not fully ready for that yet? You might as well stay on the potter's wheel. That's the best bet for you to do. You know what I mean? So I said that to say this. He said to him twice, be strong and courageous. He said, be strong and very courageous. That means, Joshua, this is a new thing for you. I'm calling you to lead these people. As I was with Moses, I'm going to be with you. I need you to lead them. There's going to be some situations where Joshua, you're going to have to be strong. It's going to be some situations where you're going to have to be courageous. So that means he may face situations where fear is going to try to come in. He's going to face situations where faith and boldness and courage has to rise up in him. So God's been giving me for a while now, like sometimes my word is rest for that season. Sometimes my word is praise. Sometimes my word is worship. Sometimes my word is continue. Like now he got me on trust, believe, and continue. Why is he telling me to continue? Because sometimes there'll be days where I want to give up. Sometimes there'll be days where it feels too much and I just want to stop. So he's telling me, continue on. I'm proud of you. I love you. Keep going. I got you. I'm going to work it out. I got it. You do what you can do. I'm going to do what I can. We're going to come together and I got you. He's telling me to trust him, because sometimes in situations where it's looking like, well, God, I've been putting my trust in you, but these things keep going on. I know how to make certain things happen. The old me. And sometimes my mind, but then I got to come back and remember who I am in Christ, and remember my progress, and remember who my God is to me, and remember his track record with me and just who he is as God anyway. There'll be some situations where it's hard to have faith and trust God with certain things, but he say trust, believe, because so the thing is, when God telling you that, there's going to be something that's going to try to come and oppose that. So you got to contend for that word. You got to contend for the word that God gave you. And this is not something that has just been going on. This is something that's been happening for years. But I always see victory every time. And I notice that every time that I continue on and I follow God for whatever word he's given me, and I just keep doing my best to do what he had me doing in all areas of my life, it all work out. God gets the glory, and I go to another level. And plus, I go deeper with him. You know what I mean? So he's telling him, be strong and very courageous. Some of you, you're like, well, God keep telling me the same word, or he'll keep telling you the same word in a different form, or through a confirmation, or a different way. You got to hold on to that, and then you got to work that word. See, if you're not faithful with the $50 that I give you, but I know you can be promoted to 500,000, 5 million, 5 billion. But if you're not faithful with that $50, see, I got to see what you can do with that $50. I got to see what you can do with the car that I bless you with. I got to see what you can do with the home that I bless you with. I got to see how you operate in these relationships. I got to see how you handle this ministry. I got to see how you govern, how you steward this on this level. Because if you could be found faithful on this level, you see what I'm saying? You will be promoted to another level, right? If you're faithful with little, you're going to be faithful with much. But if you're not faithful with little, you're not going to be found faithful with much. Because you're proving where you are on that level. See what I'm saying? So it's on 13 minutes, and I said I want to read all that. Let me just try to hurry up. If I don't get to it, but I want to try to read it. So I feel like that would encourage someone. So it says, be strong and very courageous. Be careful to obey all the law my servant Moses gave you. Do not turn from it. Don't deviate. Don't stray. Basically, this is reminding me of that Proverbs 3:5-6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge him. He is going to direct your paths. He's going to make your path straight. So he's like, do not turn from it to the right or to the left, that you may be successful wherever you go. Do not let this book of the law depart from your mouth. Meditate on it day and night, so that you may be careful to do everything written in it. Then you will be prosperous and successful. Have I not commanded you? And we know what command means, right? Be strong and courageous. Do not be terrified. Do not be discouraged. See, God giving him the game early before he even get into this other stuff. Because this other stuff he's going to have to go through. But God knows he's going to give him the victory. He's going to conquer it. So he's telling him up ahead. See, I'm telling you, this is a word for someone. You have to hold on to whatever words God has given you. I try to constantly hold on to the words that God has put in my heart. Some things I wrote in my journal, some things in my phone, some just the things I just remember, and I thank him for what's getting ready to happen. I thank him for what he already did, because some of those words already came to pass. Some of them are going to come to pass, and then some of them are for a later time, for the future. But you got to constantly contend and hold on to that word. You got to hold that word in your heart. Like we talked about last year with the nuggets and something. But anyway, it's like you got to hold that word in your heart and you can't let it escape. All right, so 15 minutes. Look, have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be terrified. Do not be discouraged. For the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. So, and I don't want anyone to take this video out of context, because you guys know I try my best to have great faith in God. I believe God. I'm a radical for him. But I also try to give you guys the physical and practical side. So although, spiritually you guys kind of see where I am, physically I'm still a human being as well. So we all can relate. You know what I'm saying? So no one never feel like, I don't like people that have the mindset where they so up there. There's this quote talking about, don't be so heavenly minded that you know earthly good. See, we're both. We can tap in when it's time to go in the spiritual realm, but then in the physical realm, it's like, but we know spiritual govern the physical. But I'm saying you can't just always be so physically minded, but then where you at spiritually, but then you can't also just be so spiritually minded, and then it's like, where you at physically? So you got to have a balance with both, to me. All right. So, because even look at the Apostle Paul. He was a tent maker. He was a mighty man of God. He, began most of the churches, a lot of the churches for that time that he was in, and God was doing some great movements for him, but he's still physical. Look, the thorn in his side, it wasn't a literal thorn, but the thorn in his flesh. What I want to do, the wretched man that I am with Romans 7, talk about the flesh and the spirit that war that battle, and just, so you understand what I'm saying? You have to have a balance. They weren't so spiritual where it was like, oh, I'm not going to eat no food if it ain't manna from heaven. Stop that foolishness, man. Come on. You know what I mean? They knew how to fellowship, and, it just, you have to be balanced. I don't know who that's for. We can have some fun with that this morning, but that's the truth. But it is on 17 minutes. All right. I believe I already wrote verse 9. So 10 going down. So Joshua ordered the officers of the people, go through the camp and tell the people, get your supplies ready. 3 days from now, you will cross the Jordan here to go in and take possession of the land the Lord your God is giving you for your own. But to the Reubenites, the Gadites, and the half-tribe of Manasseh, Joshua said, remember the command that Moses, the servant of the Lord, gave you. The Lord your God is giving you rest. What is this on my eye? I don't know. The Lord your God is giving you rest and has granted you this land. Now, this is a word for somebody. Because if it was just for me, I could have just read this in my private time this morning. But the Lord's having me come on and read this for somebody. So I hope you receive your word. All these videos really is for y'all. You know what I mean? So your wives, your children, and your livestock may stay in the land, which I claim to receive this word too. But I'm saying God is having me come on to release this for someone. I hope she know it doesn't open up till 9. Unless you're going the other way. So the Lord your God is giving you rest and has granted you this land. Your wives, your children, and your livestock may stay in the land that Moses gave you east of the Jordan. But all your fighting men, fully armed, must cross over ahead of your brothers. You are to help your brothers until the Lord gives them rest, as he has done for you. That's also a word for someone. And until they too have taken possession of the land that the Lord your God is giving them. After that, you may go back and occupy your own land, which Moses, the servant of the Lord, gave you east of the Jordan toward the sunrise. Okay, let's do 16 through 18. Then they answered Joshua, whatever you have commanded us, we will do, and wherever you send us, we will go. Just as we fully obeyed Moses, so we will obey you. Only may the Lord your God be with you as he was with Moses. Whoever rebels against your word and does not obey your words, whatever you may command them will be put to death. Only be strong and courageous. And we know that the death of Moses, if you go back in Deuteronomy 34:9, it says, now Joshua son of Nun was filled with the spirit of wisdom because Moses had laid his hands on him. See that impartation? So the Israelites listened to him and did what the Lord had commanded Moses, right? And it talks about some other stuff, but then you jump into the page after, which is getting to Joshua 1, which we just read. So it's on 20 minutes, guys. I want to read Joshua 5 and 6. I don't want to do 2 videos today. I'm going to just try to read all this in this video. And if I don't get a chance to read it all, I'm going to do a second video. But I really want to try to shoot for just one video today. Let me just read. So Joshua 5 is circumcision at Gilgal. But I want to focus on the fall of Jericho. But the reason why I want to read all of it is because the circumcision at Gilgal is preparing them more towards moving towards the fall of Jericho. You notice how God speaks in levels and steps, and how if you are faithful and obedient to do one step, he'll release the next step to you, or that step will get you closer. It's just like if you press the button on to go up on the elevator. The fact that you were like in the lobby area and made it your business to get to the elevator to go up, you being in position to get there and go up is gonna be contingent upon how high you go, you know, and you being able to handle those things at that level, because every level, literally every level and every floor is something different on it. It's not the same. That's a word for someone. So circumcision at Gilgal. Now when all the Amorite kings, and if you want to go back and read it in this full context, you can. These are just the scriptures and the verses that I want to focus on today in the chapters. So now when all the Amorite kings west of the Jordan and all the Canaanite kings along the coast heard how the Lord had dried up the Jordan before the Israelites until we had crossed over, their hearts melted and they no longer had the courage to face the Israelites. At that time, the Lord said to Joshua, make flint knives and circumcise the Israelites again. Because what happened was, they Rahab and the spies, we read, like I said, we read a lot of this already before in other videos. So I'm not reading it again today. I just want to focus on 1, 5, and 6. But if you go back, 2 is talking about Rahab and the spies. 3, they actually crossed the Jordan. 4 is more about that. 5 is the circumcision at Gilgal in the fall of Jericho. Alright, so he's telling them circumcise them again. So Joshua made flint knives and circumcised the Israelites at Gibeath Haraloth, which that means hill of foreskins, and we know what a foreskin is, right? So now this is why he did so. All those who came out of Egypt, all the men of military age, died in the desert on the way after leaving Egypt. All the people that came out had been circumcised, but all the people born in the desert during the journey from Egypt had not. The Israelites had moved about in the desert 40 years. And remember in August, the Bible study that we did, right, talked a little bit more about this too. Until all the men who were of military age, as far as the wilderness and some other stuff, right? Right? Yeah. So the Israelites 6 had moved about in the desert 40 years until all the men who were of military age when they left Egypt had died, since they had not obeyed the Lord. For the Lord had sworn to them that they would not see the land that he solemnly promised their fathers, because they were so stubborn and they were rebelling against God. And they didn't believe. Like, why would God move you from Egypt and you're in your transition to go to the promised land, which it wasn't supposed to take them 40 years. It's supposed to take them like a few days to a week or a couple weeks, if that. But not supposed to be no 40 years, right? But why would he move you from Egypt? If he wanted you to stand down in Egypt, that's what you know would have did. But he wanted you to come out of that bondage. And we did so many videos talking about Egypt and what it represents for different people. But it basically means slavery, oppression, bondage. It doesn't have to be like a physical, literal bondage. But your Egypt could have been that you had certain soul ties. or certain addictions, or certain bad habits, or you had to break from certain people, or your Egypt could have actually been a literal job, where God was calling you more to ministry, or to start your own business, or start this company up in this area. So we did a lot of videos talking about that a lot last year and in 2017 about Egypt and different stuff. So for the Lord had sworn to them that they would not see the land that he had solemnly promised their fathers, to give us a land flowing with milk and honey. So he raised up their sons in their place, and these were the ones Joshua circumcised. Right? I'm sorry, guys, I'm sleepy. Let's keep going. Because as I'm sitting here, I'm feeling very comfortable. So they were still uncircumcised because they had not been circumcised on the way. Somebody say on the way. And after the whole nation had been circumcised, they remained where they were in camp until they were healed. Because, you know, it's a process. And back then, they didn't have, like, pain pills and different things they can give you. You just had to kind of just bear it. So then the Lord said to Joshua, today I have rolled away the reproach of Egypt from you. Right? So the place has been called Gilgal to this day, because Gilgal means roll. Right, so on the evening of the 14th day of the month, while camped at Gilgal on the plains of Jericho, the Israelites celebrated the Passover. That very day, they ate some of the produce of the land, unleavened bread and roasted grain. The manna stopped the day after they ate this food from the land. There was no longer any manna for the Israelites. But that year, they ate of the produce of Canaan. Right, Canaan represents the promised land. So now we're going to talk about verse 13 through 15, the fall of Jericho. So now when Joshua was near Jericho, he looked up and saw a man standing in front of him with a drawn sword in his hand. Joshua went up to him and asked, are you for us or for our enemies? Basically, are you with us or not? You know, like Bernie Mac used to say, who you with? So neither, he replied, but as commander of the army of the Lord, I have now come. You know, so this is God's business. He like, that's not here or there. I'm just coming to, you know, conduct this business on behalf of the Lord, because I'm commander of the army of the Lord. Right? I have now come. Then Joshua fell face down to the ground in reverence and asked him, what message does the Lord have for his servant? Okay, so what message you have for me from the Lord? You know, and you have to remember, there was so many different angelic visitations back then. Not so many, but there were angelic visitations back then that was not abnormal, like it's not abnormal now. You know, look at Joel 2:25, 26 and different things. And then God used to speak a lot through his prophets, you know. But I'm so glad that, you know, we have the Holy Spirit, and I'm so glad that God has just done some amazing things for his people. He's still doing it. So the commander of the Lord's army replied, take off your sandals, for the place where you are standing is holy. And Joshua did so. We're going to continue reading Summer 6, and then we'll pick up part 2. And I really didn't want to do that, but we'll pick up part 2 in the next video. But let me just say this for someone. Do you notice how everything, his position to be Moses' aide and do what he was doing, and then in chapter 1 that we just read, God was talking to him. Then you look at, I'm not reading it, but then you look at 2, Rahab and the spies crossing the Jordan. 4, continuing on, they circumcised at Gilgal. Now the fall of Jericho is coming. Do you think that the Lord would have sent this commander? Do you think that God would have did all this had they not been doing what they did before? You guys see why it's so important when you understand it. Don't you know how many times God was telling me to do certain things, and I didn't understand why he was telling me to do it? Or sometimes I didn't even feel like, I felt like, why am I doing this? With certain things, certain relationships, the YouTube channel, certain things we doing with this, just certain different things in my life, even in business, even just me personally. There were some times God was having me doing what I would think was some weird stuff, because it didn't make sense to me. But then as I did it, it's almost like it opened up another level, another door. And then when I look back, sometimes when I look back, I'm like, you know what? I did not understand why God was telling me this then, or showing me this or that at that time. But because of where I am now, and then because of where I'm going, it made sense. Or something happened and it all made sense. So it's like, you got to be obedient. You got to just trust God and believe whether you understand it or not. Because God is not going to tell you to do something that's for your harm. It's going to be for your good and for his glory. Right? So let's read a little bit of 6. It's on 29 minutes. And then you guys can join me in part 2. Okay? So Joshua did what he told him to do. But let's say he would have been prideful. And say, no, we didn't cross the Jordan. We didn't send out the spies. The Lord already told me. I circumcised them. Why do I have to take off my sandals? The reproach from Egypt is already... What if he would have gave him so much love? The reproach from Egypt is already rolled away. Why do I got to take off my sandals for you to tell me this word? No, he was humble. It says that he fell face down to the ground in reverence, which represents respect. And he's like, what message does the Lord have for us? What does the Lord want to say to me? What's the word of the Lord? And he's like, take off your sandals, for the place where you are standing is holy. Right? So you gotta, even the small things, it could seem small, it could seem big. If God telling you to do it, and especially at the time he's telling you to do that for a reason. Because you never know. I was just going to grab a Lego block, but Justice don't have no Lego blocks in here. They're in the house. Hold on. He got some toys back here. Because y'all know I'm very practical. Oh, the green man just fell, but whatever. Okay. This piece is going to connect you to this piece. And then it's going to connect you to these pieces. But it's going to start with one. See, you may not understand this. You may not understand this. You may not understand it. But somehow, some way, they all going to come together. Right? All of them going to come together. All right. So chapter 6. Now Jericho was tightly shut up because of the Israelites. No one went out and no one came in. Right? So it was fortified. Then the Lord said to Joshua, see, I have delivered Jericho into your hands, along with its kings and its fighting men. March around the city once with all the armed men. Do this for 6 days. Have 7 priests carry trumpets of ram's horns in front of the ark. On the 7th day, march around the city 7 times with the priests blowing the trumpets. You guys keep that in mind. Join me on here for part 2. We're going to pick up verses 5 reading on.